AskReddit by Krish. What will never be the same again once the pandemic is over? Time spent with my kids. Pre-pandemic I would leave the house 5 days a week at 6:15 am to commute to the office, usually before anyone else in my house is awake. And I'd get home most evenings just in time to put them to bed. I'll never go back to that. The past 8 months I've actually seen my boys grow up in front of my eyes and I get lots of quality time with them every day, even with work from home. I know now what I was missing. Yup. Right there with you, man. Only positive to come from this whole mess. Made me take a step back and rethink my life. Hopefully your boss will finally admit that all his dumb meetings actually could have been emails all along. Everyone at my work got zoomed out, so we have 1 day a week where no one can schedule a Zoom meeting. Everything has to be handled via email or you have to provide a written justification. The Zoom fatigue is very real. My marriage. My wife and I had to work from home together, separate jobs, from March until September when she had to go back to the office. I am still working from home. During this time, we became increasingly closer. I have heard so many stories of marital problems being caused by COVID. I literally miss my wife every day she has to go to work. I meet her at the door like a fucking puppy. They say absence makes the heart grow fonder. Sometimes forced proximity does too. My dogs have expected me to basically be around all the time and rub their bellies 24/7. I feel kinda stupid for the extent of how worried I am, but I am very worried about the trend of people getting pets to keep them company right now. Yes, pets are great. I'm happy you found one. But what happens when all these people return to work, to vacations, to social events? I really hope the animals aren't locked away or abandoned. Small businesses. As a kitchen worker, I am very concerned about our industry. So many independent restaurants have closed down in our town, like 1/3 at least in the past months. It's depressing because we all have a deep passion for our careers, and we're just watching it all crumble. Most of the mom and pop stores in my town are gone forever. Some of these stores I grew up with, the Nickel Arcade, the tiny French bakery my aunt took us to when we got good grades, the only ramen shop open after 10 PM, my favorite donut shop, the fancy British tea shop I never had a good date in but many London fogs that were utterly perfect, the only dim sum place, the handmade mochi and tea shop, the only cigar shop in town to get fancy cigars. I lament the death of all these tiny businesses I took for granted. I always thought they'd be around. Now my community is left with just brand-named box stores, no more originality and flavor. Just closed sky-rise buildings surrounded by a garishly lit Denny's, Olive Garden, and Target. A massive amount of people now know they can work from home. I knew I could before but my overlords wouldn't allow it. Obliviousness to how many things I touched between hand washings. I used to work retail cashier and the way money smells is so fucking gross. I'd help count cash, store cash at open close and money just stinks. At the time it was like, yeah, it's gross but I'll just wash my hands before lunch. Meanwhile, I'd be rubbing my eyes and nose, biting my nails, stocking food, touching my face. I'm genuinely wondering how I didn't get some kind of plague before all this. Office life. My company has already announced that once we are allowed to go back, we'd only be going once or twice a week. It seems many realized how feasible working from home is. They told us we aren't going back until July. This is true. And even then we will be working from home 4 out of 5 days a week. Deleted. I read an article about a guy that went into the woods at the beginning of March and totally cut off communication for 100 days. He came back to an entirely different world. Pavrajeshk, it was 74 days. I will not take hugs for granted. Yep. My mom passed away unexpectedly in October. Because of my asthma, my mom took extra precautions around me and hugs were completely off the table. The last 2 times I saw her, I tried to hug her goodbye when I was leaving, and she said no. Of course I respected that, and we did an air hug. When I found out she died, the first thing that went through my head was the fact that I had not hugged her since January, and I never will again. There's millions of others in my shoes, and it's fucking heartbreaking. Edit. Wow. Thank you all so much for the kind, beautiful words and love. My heart goes out to all of you who lost a loved one and are grieving, as well. If you can't hug someone you love right now, let them know you love them in some way. It's so important, and something we all take for granted too frequently. My attitude towards my entertainment backlog. Previously I used to look at my PlayStation library or my Netflix list and think if I just had a few weeks off, I could make a serious dent. I've had more than a few weeks off and my backlog seems if anything more endless. I'll probably be in the retirement home with that little voice in the back of my head going Peaky Blinders is meant to be good, should get on that. You could die tomorrow and never find out just how good Peaky is. My bank balance, in the words of the great Tiger King himself, I'm never gonna financially recover from this. It's annoying how, seemingly, quickly my life went from talking about where we wanted to buy a house to discussing the possibility of moving back in with my parents for a while. RIP live music career, you will be missed. Edit. Shameless plug time? If you're anywhere near Central FL and need instruments, sound, lights, video wall and some social distancing conscious text for a party, speech, wedding, literally anything, there's a whole warehouse. https://gobberklein.com// worth of neat stuff gathering dust, d. I am afraid that a lot of karaokes and spas in our country will go out of business. I know. I was so close to nailing Lose Yourself karaoke. My waistline. I had finally started working out 5 days a week, eating healthy, going to bed on time, etc. I kept that up for about 3 months and 1 month into COVID before losing the mental strength. I gained pretty much all that weight back and I'm pretty bummed. On the bright side, my younger brother has finally gotten his shit together and looks better than he has in years. Standing next to someone after they sneeze. Today, I watched some lady pull down her mask, sneeze with her mouth fully open, spit flying everywhere on the product. When the line leader called her out on it, she got angry and started ranting. Left after lunch. My definition of personal space. Edit. Holy crap. I haven't logged into Reddit since I made this comment and it blew the heck up. Thanks for the awards all, although the hugs trophies kind of miss the point. Lol. I've always felt uncomfortable when customers get too close to me at work. Now I just feel validated when I keep trying to step away from them. Costco free samples. As a sample giver, we're working on it, but the current state of samples sucks so much. Take home samples just aren't the same. Drinking fountains. Some people deep throat the faucet. As a nursing assistant, I will be forever oh so hesitant to get near someone, particularly the elderly who like to cough directly at you, without my eye shield and mask. What the hell is up with old people coughing straight at you? All you can eat buffets. No joke, pandemic in UK started the 13th of March. I was super lucky cause my birthday was the 12th of March, and still is now I think about it, and I went to my local buffet and I ate to my heart's content. Chances are I was one of the last people in our town to experience the joy that is an infinite birthday cake. Edit. Wow, amount of people who share a birthday with me and have seen this post seems too many. Fantastic. Healthcare workers going to work without a mask on. Definitely took for granted seeing my co-workers' smiling faces during my long shifts. I started my job at a hospital in May, and it's funny to see my co-workers take their masks off briefly because I've worked with them for 6 months and didn't know what their face looked like. Food delivery just being dropped off on your doorstep. Remember when you had to go outside and make eye contact like some kind of person? No more, my friends. Just leave it outside and I'll get it when I'm ready. No more scrambling to find pants when you're half-baked and hungry. I'm a delivery driver myself, and I can tell you I appreciate it just as much on my end. I don't gotta deal with gross people or weird shit. Just drop that shit off and run. Shopping will continue to be mostly online, and malls will likely die out faster than they were already going to. Oh man, going to malls and just walking around, I'm going to miss that. My faith in humanity. Literally this morning, our local paper reported that the government is aiming to achieve full internet coverage throughout Indonesia, reaching even the remote villages by 2024. We had a local meme as our boomer minister said a few years back something in the line of, "Why do we need strong internet access? It took the poor stealing smartphones for the sole purpose of letting their kids attend online classes to convince them." So the answer to the question is, some boomers' view on the value of internet accessibility. Blowing out the candles on your birthday cake. I never thought about it, but it is a rather disgusting tradition. For my wife's birthday, we cut the cake, gave her a piece with a candle, and that's one that she blew out. I'll have to start putting makeup on the lower half of my face. Crap. Deleted. I have the impression that people have shown their worst part, and this will have consequences for long time. Oh buddy. I wish I could share your optimism that this is the worst of humanity. As a current college student, I am in favor of keeping recorded lectures. It's way more helpful than just having notes or slides. I had to take the day off for Yom Kippur and missed a class where the prof records her lectures and posts them online. It was amazing. For the first time in years, I didn't miss anything or had to rely on a friend for notes. People coming into work sick to show how dedicated to work they are, or saving those days for mental health days meant ironically. No, Justin. Don't come over to my desk with your coughing and runny nose telling me how bad you're roughing it at work to get some sympathy. If you're looking for sympathy, look under the dictionary between shit and syphilis. As much as I wish otherwise, there's still a lot of people who can't afford to take sick days unless they're physically made to do so by their boss, and even then will fight them over it because, again, they can't afford to miss a day's wages, let alone a week or more to get over an illness. Anytime you're sick, you'll wear a mask. I'm amazed at all the times I flew before when I had a cold and didn't wear a mask. And hopefully work and school will be far more accepting of when you need to stay home because you're sick. I used to go to school sick all the time because I had dick teachers and professors that would just say I would be marked absent and my grade would go down for being absent. Video games. They feel like they did when I was a teenager again. Usually I feel guilty that I'm not doing something more productive. But right now I could care less about spending a whole weekend doing almost nothing but playing video games. Barely touched my PS4 for gaming before all this happened, and now it's a solid pastime for me again. Bought more games for my Switch, too. Feels immature and unproductive at times, but honestly fuck it. It is a pastime and I have no idea why I ever gave it up. Definitely a form of task completion. Removes my mind from so much bullshit going on RN. Fuck bars and clubs or mayo. Deleted. So many people didn't get to say goodbye in a meaningful way. My partner's friend died in a hotel room. He was cremated before his family was even informed of his death. Very hard to deal with. Hopefully working from home, WFH, will become more of a normal thing, and companies will have much smaller offices. I really hope so. Also fuck you to my ex-manager who refused me permission to work at home pre-lockdown because she needed to review my work well. With you no longer micromanaging me, I managed to get promoted above you, so I think we know why you really wanted to keep me under your thumb, don't we? The phrase avoid it like the plague, turns out people don't do that. I remember seeing a funny quote, either here on Reddit or on Twitter, that went something like, if the next zombie movie doesn't have 40% of the people running towards the zombies to get infected on purpose, then it's not believable. Cruise ships, dubious that industry will come out the other side without radical changes. Deleted. I'd feel fantastic if remote work remained permanent. I can get rid of my second car to save money. Lunch at home. Meetings are shorter and less annoying than in person. People have actually been sending work over email instead of interrupting me with their random bullshit. And it's pretty awesome not having to deal with traffic or deal with people in general. I don't understand people who are dying to go back to the office. Seriously? For me it's the extra sleep time. I get up exactly at 7 now and I'm online within a minute by rolling over and logging in. Also the instant offline thing. Once quitting time happens, I just do the shit I wanna do. It's like gaining an extra hour each way, it feels like. Just shower over lunch. Airline fares. Now they're doing all this validity extension and not charging change fees. As soon as COVID is over, they'll go right back to the restricted fares of before. A small thing, but I hope the QR code menus at restaurants stick around. Yes, those menus are and were always dirty AF. Fewer weddings, more elopements. My respect for a great many people. But for this, I really thought our stupidity had limits. At this point, I don't know if we could stop people from rolling in gas and lighting themselves on fire. Hopefully frequent hand washings will become the norm. And hand sanitizers in shops, restaurants and public spaces. As someone who refuses to touch food if I haven't washed my hands, I am emetophobic. I'm terrified of the stomach flu. This endless supply everywhere I go is really nice. And people who usually don't care about washing their hands do it more often. I still see folks who ain't washing their hands. Disgusting. I've enjoyed the solitude of not having so many social obligations. Once this is all over, I'll have to go back to being the asshole that lies about not feeling well to get out of them. I'm the opposite. I was just starting to get out of my shell after shutting into myself for 6-7 years. I was super excited to do things with friends this year. Music festivals. Car stuff. Trips to the lake. Going out and socializing. The only thing that really changed for me this year was traffic. My job was listed as essential. So work life didn't change. Thankfully I've kept in touch with those friends, but all of us have been saying recently it's good to get the gang together again the last couple times we hung out. People actually give a crap about hygiene. I thought I was crazy washing my hands for a minute after I used the restroom or used a paper towel to open doors while leaving it when so many other people didn't. Completely grossed me out. Who knew understanding how viruses work would be a life pro tip? They'll probably leave the plexiglass things up. That's probably it. Hopefully they'll get some kind of a speaker system or at least a mesh filter in place to help allow sound through. Half of the time I can't hear the person on the other side, so we end up yelling at each other, and then just leaning to the side of the plastic so that we can be heard. Childhood development theories. We now have an entire group of children who have missed what are regarded as developmental milestones. Learning to play cooperatively with others, learning to share, empathy building, etc. It will be very interesting to see the research coming out over the next decade or so. IDK if it counts, but I was 3 months away from graduating. Most of us were waiting for the final goodbye event. It never came. Had to finish exams in online mode. Certificate came at CLG and had to collect them at your own pace. All of us were from different cities and some were from different states too. I was an extrovert, so I was one of the most emotional one about it. Here I couldn't even say final goodbye. God knows if we will meet ever again. Snow days for school. Edit. Type 4 dudes, this is highest dudes ever for me. Deleted. I think masks are going to become standard in hospitals or when someone is sick. Other than that, I think life will be almost the same within 5 years. Masks were already standard in hospitals when necessary. But honestly, hospitals will not stay at permanent PPE. Where I live they already stopped, because we don't have COVID in the community.